Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 Off, 5 On Racing Show. Welcome to another fun-filled evening of race talk. I'm glad you guys and gals can make it. We have a lot to talk about. We got some news coming out of Long Island that we'll talk about in the second, probably half, or the first break, I should say. But I want to say Ryan Preece, the Class Act guy, and then I'll get to that in a minute, but he had the biggest payday in SK modified history, picking up a win this past Friday for paying. It was a $5,000 to win, and an additional $7,000 in bonus money, and Ryan Preece walked away with that money, and it was pretty big. That's a big payoff, $12,000 for winning an SK modified race up at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut. You know, good for Ryan. It's a good guy. In fact, and the reason I say he's a class act, I happened to go to my local racetrack this past Saturday night with a couple of good friends of mine, and the modifieds are out doing their thing, and there was a late, or should you say, a last lap pass for the lead, where Ryan Preece had nowhere to go but onto the shoulder of the racetrack, down below the bumps, below the yellow line, below everything, as John Fortin was trying to hold him off, kind of pushed him down here. But you know what, boys and girls, that's racing. And when the checker flag dropped, Ryan Preece was the first guy across the line. However, after a 12-minute conference, the local officials decided that the pass under the line was illegal, took that spot away, giving the win to John Fortin, multi-time champion. Now, you would think there'd be a bunch of nonsense after that, but after the race, as they were conferring, Ryan Preece got out of his car, sat on John Fortin's bumper, or nerf bar, I should say, and apparently they were having a nice discussion about it, and there was none of this nonsense and none of this nonsense. It was just, because, from where my vantage point, that's what I saw, and it was some of this and some of that and some of this. And when the officials made the announcement that they were going to penalize Ryan one spot for passing under the white line, Ryan Preece went like this: "Good call." Shook John's hand, drove away like a gentleman. And that's true sportsmanship. And you don't see that type of stuff often in short track racing, similar to what we had at the Orange County Speedway a couple of weeks ago, where there was a dash for cash type of race put up in the sportsman mod, put up by a sponsor, and the guy who was the sponsor also drove the event and won, and he relinquished the win, giving it to the second place guy. So, you don't see it often, but, it restores my faith in racing and competitors. Usually in the pit area, during the week, in your shop, in your driveway, your garage, wherever you work on your car, these types of guys are there for you. But on the racetrack, it's do or die, and I'm beating you at all costs. But, twice this year I've seen guys do that. And my hat's off to Ryan Preece, who I've known for quite some time, since he busted onto the Wheel and Modified Tour some years back. And I can remember a win that they took away from him, and I believe it was the Stafford Motor Speedway, where he got into Todd Zagerty and spun him out. It was not an intentional spin out. It was an inexperienced driver on the tour, not an experience as a driver, but on the tour, just trying to hold his line. And it's the last lap, and he kind of got into him. And Todd, being an experienced former champion on the tour, knew how to play it up and slow it up just a little bit. And because they say when you're winning a race, just slow it up in the corners, you mess up the momentum. But Todd got sent around, and again, Ryan Preece, is upset as he was at the win being taken away, which would have been his first win. He was still a gentleman about it when he got out of his race car on pit road. So Ryan Preece, my hat's off to him. He's a good competitor, and I'll tell you what, somewhere down the road, you're going to see him on one of the top 3 series bouncing around. I know he's done some stuff with TBR, Tom Baldwin Racing, but I see Ryan Preece, just because of his age. I believe he's 25 years old. He's from Berlin, Connecticut. His looks, he's got that look. He's a good-looking kid, and he's a fierce competitor, and races just about anything, everywhere, whenever he can. So, and Muglilov, you're actually absolutely right, Muglilov. Class acts, that's stuff like that doesn't get into the papers, because the papers and the media and the social media, it's always negative. I shouldn't say always. It's in most cases very negative, and it's just you don't want to be that way. But anyway, so my hat's off again. And congratulations to Ryan Preece on that big win, the highest paying SK modified race in history, and then of course his professional gesture this past weekend at my local racetrack. That was the first time I've been to in almost a year or so. But anyway, speaking of the Whalen Modified Tour, the Whalen Modified Tour will be in New Hampshire for 2 events this weekend in New Hampshire Motor Speedway up in Loudon, New Hampshire. They will be up there for the All-Star Shootout on Friday night, non-points race, and then they will have their 100-lapper on Saturday. It's always a good show at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, as it's called now. It was called Loudon for years, the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, owned by Speedway Motorsports now. And I'll tell you what, I always enjoyed going there, and looking back on my first time going to New Hampshire, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. The 1 mile racetrack. I was never there before. Heard a lot about it, saw it on TV, and just like everything else, you see it on TV, and it's a whole different ball game, so to speak. Just like the first time I went to Yankee Stadium, I had a black and white TV in my home growing up. We didn't have color. My uncle took me to a Yankee game, and I remember walking through the tunnel, and all of a sudden seeing green grass and tan dirt, and the bronze facade around Yankee Stadium for the first time in color. And when Billy Crystal made that mention in one of his acts, that the first time he saw a Yankee game in color and what it did to him, I fully understood that. So when I went into Loudon for the first time, I was like, wow, this is someplace. And great place to watch a race, in my opinion. It ranks right up there in one of my top racetracks that I've been in. I've been to many, many racetracks across North America, and that includes Canada and Mexico. And New Hampshire is one of my faves, especially on the Sprint Cup level, where Bristol is my favorite track of all time. But New Hampshire Motor Speedway is really good because they're fan-friendly, they're competitive-friendly. Bob Baer, when he ran the place, he built that racetrack. When he ran it, and the tour guys, we were showing up with 50, 60 cars, and whoever didn't make the show got a personal letter and a personal check from Bob Baer thanking him for their efforts. And the personal check was for what last place would have paid. And with a thank you, sorry you didn't make it, come on up next time, here's a little something to help you out. And you don't see stuff like that anymore. You just don't see stuff like that. But and maybe that's what would maybe enjoy the place so much. My kids were little, my girls were small, and because they were with me, they walked all over the place. And that included the Cup Garage, the roof, the spotter stand, the suites, wherever they wanted to go. And I remember stuff like that. And it's all good. It's all good. Oh, man, what do we got going here? We're going to take a break. I know it's early. We're going to take a break because when I come back, I'm going to talk about something that's rumbling through the racing ranks here on Long Island. And I'm going to talk about it when we come back. I know it's early, but we're going to take an early break. We'll be back.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Anyway, as I said earlier in the broadcast, I made a trip out to my local racetrack for the first time in close to a year with some good friends of mine. And you know, there was some rumblings going on, and I've been going to that racetrack since 1973, which is some 42 years. And for 42 years, I heard the same rumor every year: track sold, the track sold, the track sold. But this one seemed to be like real, and that was the rumblings going around, and people were throwing away around dollar amounts. When I started hearing all these different dollar amounts, I'm like, you know, each person added like $1 million to it or $500,000 to it to make their story seem better. And then somebody who I respect highly, a driver, was in his pit area after the races, enjoying some apple pie, I might say. And it was the best apple pie I've tasted in a long time. But anyway, yeah, I paid, Cutie, I paid. That's another whole story. I'll let WJ tell it. But anyway, I said, man, there might be some truth to this rumor. So I'm not one to succumb to rumor mills. I hate rumor mills, you know, because this is what happens. The old telephone game. The first person tells the second person something, they tell the third person, they embellish it a little. By the time you get to the 50th person, you know, the fish that they caught in the bay was this big, and by the time it gets to the last person, it was a 200-pound whopper that they caught in the canyons of the Atlantic Ocean. You know, it's like the fire stories. It was a little brush fire. It turned out there was 7 alarm things, 7 houses, 3 departments, every piece of equipment. And I don't fall for that nonsense. I just don't. So I reached out to one of the parties, one of which I know who still talks to me. And I reached out to Eddie Partridge Sunday morning, and I said, Eddie, I'm hearing a rumor that you've purchased a racetrack, and that it's effective really August 1st, but you're really not taking over till 2016. And he gave me the thumbs up. It's a done deal. Ed Partridge has purchased Riverhead Raceway on Long Island, effective August 1st. However, Barbara and Jim Cromedy, the current promoters and owners of the facility, are going to stay on for the rest of the season, as this is the 65th year of the racetrack, and it's their 30th year. So they want to finish it out. And I got to tell you, there's no secret that there's no love between the Cromedys and myself for whatever reason. I won't get into it here. I'm sure they have their thoughts about it, and I have mine. But I'm gonna say this, and I know there's some people on that come and watch the show and have some stuff to say about what I say about things. But I first met the Cromedys in 1977 at ISO Speedway when they were just promoters. They were running the racetrack for a family that owned the property, and they were running it. They were the promoters. And I remember the first night that they came, they walked onto the racetrack with their white pants and their red jackets and their little dog. And they cut a cake, and and everybody was going to get a piece, but that was not going to happen because it was like a jam-packed house. And the only thing I knew of them is that they were carnival people, but they were successful in all their other endeavors. And I was like, and I was just a kid. I was just, what was I, 19 years old at the time. And I was like, wow, maybe this is good for racing. Somebody who, they know how to promote and all that kind of good stuff. And I'll tell you what, it was. It was. And then ISO Speedway got kind of sold from underneath them. They weren't even given the opportunity to purchase it when it went for sale. They didn't even know it was for sale. As Jim Cromedy once said to me, he goes, if they would have told us, we would have bought it. And at the time, it was being sold. It was being sold to a company that was going to build on it. They were going to build factories, and they ended up building a cookie factory and another business or building that a business is now in, and a gym and all this kind of good stuff. I had the opportunity to drive by there and try to sneak in through the fence of where the racetrack was, because it's all fenced off, with Kevin Basic from Long Island Need for Speed. I think that was last week we tried to do that. And it's some of the stuff, one of the buildings is still there. You can see it from one of the side roads. But anyway, they took the place over, and then there was some doggone good racing back then. It was maybe only 2 divisions with a third thing that would come in. Maybe the midget would come in, or the Bombers from Freeport or from Riverhead, or a combined show, and old demolition derbies and football demolition derbies, and what we refer to as circus acts. But you know what? The circus acts put people in the stands, and some of those people came back and became race fans. And they did the right thing for racing. And then ISUP closes. It closes. Riverhead's floundering. They're not running every week. They're trying to get cars out there. It was just bad management. So they lose ISUP, but they have an opportunity to buy Riverhead Raceway. And I believe it was in 1985, if I'm not mistaken. 1985 comes, they buy Riverhead Raceway, and there was no secret. It was a struggle in the beginning, because so many people over the last 8 or 10 years back then had tried to make Riverhead Raceway work, and it just wasn't happening. So why would it happen now? None of the West End guys on the island, on Long Island, were going to take that trip all the way, as he said, all the way out to Riverhead to go racing. Because back then, the Sunrise Highway wasn't like it was. There was lights like every other corner. It took forever. The expressway was kind of brand new, headed out that way. And there was only 2 lanes on the expressway once you got past a certain point. And, with rush hour traffic, it took forever on, because they ran Friday nights. And getting out there was just tough. But you know what? They tried, and they tried, and they tried, and they promoted, and they did what race promoters are supposed to do, because that's what they did at ISO Speedway. They come into Riverhead, and finally it starts to take off. They move the show to Saturday nights. People are making the drive out to Riverhead Raceway because it was the only game in town. And the thing back then, and I'm going to say this, because I was around back in those days. I might not have been behind the scenes, but I was a guy into racing at the time. And I started a little bit in 78, 79, and I was involved with the women's division, 79, 80, 81. And it was going out to Riverhead. Like I said, it took forever to get. By the time you get out of work and headed out there for a 7:30 start, it was tight. But they did the right thing back then. And now, when I say they did the right thing, they were advised by the right people. And when I say the right people, the late Big Bob O'Rourke, he basically ran the racing portion of Riverhead Raceway for them, in addition to all the other racetracks that Bob kind of took a hold of, like ISO Speedway, New Egypt, and other points all around the Northeast, Races of Champions, and All-Star League, and all that kind of good stuff. So they let Bob do his thing. They let him do the race thing. They did the promotion. They did the grandstands. But they let Bob O'Rourke do their thing. Over the years, Bob got sick. Bob wasn't doing as well. Bob wasn't traveling. Bob kind of lost some of his oomph. And they tried to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, they tried to do what he did. Now, you could watch somebody do something a million times. You could be side by side with them as they do what they do. But if you don't know how to do it, it's not going to work out. And I think that's what happened over the years. They did certain things. When I say they, Barbara and Jim Cromedy, and I those people were like family to me years ago. And they did things because that's how it was always done. And you know, if you live with that mentality, we'd still be riding horses and we'd be still getting our mail from the Pony Express because that's how we do it. And I think that's what happened to racing on Long Island. You know, they didn't have the right people in place. Maybe they were advised by the wrong people. And racing over the last, I'm going to say over the last 10 years on Long Island has diminished more than the rest of the country. And other racetracks, don't get me wrong, other racetracks sometimes have poor car counts. Sometimes they don't have a full grandstand. Sometimes there's issues, and social media just kind of blows that all up. But you know, when I'm going to say this: in the past couple of years, I've been going to a lot of other racetracks, and yeah, there's favoritism at every racetrack at every level, even in the Sprint Cup Series, the Camping World Truck Series, and the Xfinity Series. You're going to have favoritism. There's going to be certain people who have a say. Look at the Sprint Cup Series. Jeff Gordon didn't make the chase last year, and Rick Hendrick goes in and says, you got to put him in. Next thing you know, they make a rule, they put Jeff Gordon in. Just like years ago, the first Daytona 500 that Richard Petty did not qualify for, well, there's always been a Petty in Daytona 500, so they made a rule, past champions provisional to get in. So don't think that this favoritism stuff is only at your local racetrack. It's everywhere. But anyway, I have to wish, and I got to say this, Eddie Partridge and I've known Eddie for a good number of years, probably about 15 years or so. And Eddie and I kind of joked around years ago, I said, when he was trying to build that racetrack in Calverton. And I remember saying to Eddie, I said, Eddie, I said, build it and they'll come, big guy. And, and we kind of chuckled. And we always used to say, when you're buying Riverhead, he goes, when the price is right. And Eddie, you'd be good for it, you'd be good. And I'll tell you what, here's a man who, number one, the racetrack isn't his only source of income. He's got businesses, he's okay. But he's also a racer. He's also a car owner, and he's a businessman. And I think when you put those three things together, he's a racer, a businessman, and a car owner, and he's successful at all three. All three he's very successful at. That's not by accident. And it's not like, he had a business, ran it, made some money, shut it down, started a new one. This man, T.S. Haulers, him and his wife Connie, the owners of T.S. Haulers. And I'll tell you what, when you have a person like that, his roots are in the community, his building, his business is literally a mile down the road or so, he's there to stay. He's there to stay, and he put a lot of money out of his pocket to buy this racetrack, and he's going to make it successful. And there was a lot of things him and I talked about over the years, and a lot of things he said when he was just a car owner that showed up back at Riverhead with Bo Gunning, for those who don't remember, Bo Gunning, and I believe it was Mike Curtis Jr., and he brought those two cars, and I remember he wasn't happy with some of the things that were going on, and one of the conversations him and I had in my office when he was in there having a discussion about a call that was made against Bo Gunning. He goes, if I ran this place, I would do this. And if I ran this place, I would do that. And, well, you know what? He's going to run the place, and I know he's going to do this and that. And racing is going to come back to Long Island the way it was years ago. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen the first season, because some people are going to sit back and say, let's wait and see what happens. Like I said, I've gone to a lot of racetracks over the last, I'm going to say, all of this season and part of last season. And when I see guys on Long Island going to Bethel, up way up state New York, up by Woodstock, I see them going into Egypt, all the way down in South Jersey, or a couple more exits here in Delaware. I see them hopping on the ferry and paying that exorbitant ferry price for their truck and trailer to go to Stafford Motor Speedway in Stafford Springs and the New London Waterford Speed Bowl. And I'm not talking just, let's go up there one week. I'm talking about guys, when you look at the point stands at the end of the year, they're in the top 10, 12, 15 in points, so they're every week. And as Bob Fine and I had a little email conversation a couple of weeks ago, he said in that email to me, or that messenger, or whatever you want to call it, that it breaks his heart to sit in that press box and watch, as he put it, our guys driving right past the local racetrack to go race somewhere else. I don't think that's going to happen in 2016 and beyond. I think those Long Islander guys are going to do is sit back and let's see what happens, and they're going to start coming back to our local racetrack, whether it's called Riverhead Speedway, whatever Eddie calls it, Riverhead Raceway, whatever it might be. I think you're going to see these guys come back. The glory days are going to be back at that racetrack. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. I don't think, no, don't get me wrong, Barbara and Jim Crockett, they're 83 and 81 respectively, according to a press release, not a press release, but a thing that Bob Finan wrote, the PR guy. And when you look at that, when you look at that and think about that, you know, those people, they didn't plan to be in the racing business. What are we talking, you know, almost 40 years? From 23, 50, you know, almost 40 years. They didn't plan to do that. You know, they planned on coming in. They were carnival people. They were promoters. All right, let's make our money and move on. They didn't do that. They truly, in the beginning, had a love for racing. They truly did, and a lot of people don't understand that. And I worked for them. I knew them in the 70s. I knew Jim Cromley prior to that in passing, but they had a true love for racing, and they tried to do the right thing. It's just that as time goes on, you get older, you're not as hungry as you used to be, you're tired, you know, you don't have the right people in the right positions, and like I said earlier, they did things because that's what they were comfortable doing, and it worked for them. It may not have worked for us in the racing community, but you know, it's their business, and I wouldn't want somebody to come in and tell me how to run my business after I've been in it for 40 years. You know, and let's have an understanding with that. My intention was never to bash the place. My intention was never to put them down. And I know that a lot of stuff that I said was misconstrued as such. It wasn't. It was constructive criticism that if it was taken that way, it was just taken as constructive criticism, the way it was designed to be and meant to be. Things might have been a little bit different, but they chose to go a different route, which is their business. And I know one of my closest friends and I, we were in the office back in 2002 with them and asking some hard questions, and the response came back as, guys, you just don't understand our business. And I said, you know, you're right, I don't. It's time to go. And you move on. So that's it. So I want to say here on the show, I want to wish Eddie and Connie Partridge only the best in their new endeavor. And I just hope everybody gives them a chance. It's not easy. It's not easy running a racetrack, as you know, Tracy Trico knows from up in Bethel Motor Speedway, upstate New York. You don't just put the key in the gate, open it up, and they're going to come. It doesn't happen that way. It looks that way from the fence grabbers on the outside looking in. It takes a lot of work to run a racetrack. It takes a lot of work to gain the trust of the competitors and the car owners and the sponsors and bringing them people back. And once we do that, and I say we, it's a collective we, it's you guys and gals that are listening to the show and watching the show and in the chat room. It's a concerted effort by us all. I only wish Eddie and Connie the best. I'm ecstatic over this. I can't begin to tell you how happy I am to see a place that I grew up at, that I had to walk away from, to see a place that like I said, I grew up there, going there with my grandfather back in the 70s. Almost losing my life there, running that place, building it up, and making it happen with the help of my staff and my people. I didn't do that by myself. I had a good staff, right from the guys and the announcers and the PR people to my lowest tech guy. We made it happen. It could happen again. The place could be a gold mine. And again, best wishes to Eddie and Connie, and a lot of luck. And I hope everybody reaches out to them. I know no official press release came out, but you know what? When you go to the horse's mouth and the horse says, this is what we did, then I take that as gospel. We'll be back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rush Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, just a couple of things. I see we got Tracy Chirico in the chat room tonight, and Tracy's the business operations manager of Bethel Motor Speedway, and I want to thank her for taking the time to come on our show yet again and join the chat. So thank you, Tracy, and feel free to update our viewers and chat room people with any special events you got coming on or going on at your racetrack in the near future. Anyway. We have a little segment. We played it a couple months ago, but it got so much, I'd say, airtime that we're going to play it again. It was race in the early days, and we have an interview from the Hymes Museum of Nostalgia from back in last August of Ray Mortuano. Ray, the old starter at ISO Speedway, and kicked my butt a couple of times when I first started as a young kid racing at ISO Speedway, and we got that interview with Ray. Here we go. Hey, I'm standing with Ray Mortuano. Did I say that right?
That's close.
You know, from Long Island, a lot of time guys, you know what I mean?
That's it. You got it.
That's all right. Ray, I'll tell you, my first memories of you, I was a little punk-nosed teenage kid at ISO Speedway, and you were in the flag stand. That's a long time ago.
Well, yeah, it was a long time ago, except for I was a little punk kid when I got into the starter stand. I was 12 years old.
Wow.
And I backed up Johnny Rocco.
Uh-huh.
All right. Dominic Stafford said, "Come here, Goomba, I got a nicer job for you."
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history. We went on for years.
Oh, yeah.
25 of them to be exact.
Wow. 25 years in the flag stand.
Yep.
Yeah. What are some of your best memories?
Probably flagging some of the All-Star races, right? And not just at ISO, but traveling and giving out the All-Star helmets and stuff like that. Some of the greatest races went to ISO Speedway. We used to have the Grand National cars there.
Yes, we did back in the 60s.
We had Richard Petty when he drove, right? Wendell Scott. That man could put spit and glue together and make it race.
Yeah.
It was really good, you know. There were so many good times, but all you had to do to have a good time at ISO Speedway was know Larry Mendelson.
That's it.
One of the best promoters in the world.
The guy cared.
One of the smartest men in the world. You know, he said something to me one day, and I look at it today. You want to make money? I says, yeah. He says, spend some, and then you'll make some. And the man was right. The man was right. He knew his stuff, you know.
You got to spend a buck to make
and
some.
an inventive mind. He's the one who invented demolition derby, and you know that.
Yes, I do.
And about 11 different types of it to boot. Yeah, so, yeah, it was cool. You know, ISO, like I said, was a great place. I met the nicest people, and like you know, firsthand, there's no people like race people, and there's no party like a race party. Okay, and we've traveled all over the United States, you know. And we've put on demolition derbies and races and everything else.
Ray, thank you so much.
Hey, Joe,
for everything.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Keep racing alive, brother.
Ray Mortuano, good guy. And there's a story I always like to share about one of my many experiences with Ray. And it was my first opportunity to start on a pole. It's ISO Speedway. It is there's about 60 cars in the pits, and I'm on the pole. In my head, I'm qualifying tonight. How can you not qualify from the pole? There's, there might have been 20 cars in this heat race, and it was a 10-lap heat race, and I know I could hold them off. I just know it. Well, back in those days, we started on the backstretch. We lined up on the backstretch. Ray waved. It's time to go. We didn't do hot laps. We didn't do a whole take them around slow nonsense. We went into 3 and 4. The light went green. The flag dropped. We went racing. So like I said, I'm on the pole. It's my first time on the pole. I started last. I don't know how many weeks in a row. And they came up to me, the handicapper came up to me, and Jackie Ficarra, the late Jackie Ficarra, he goes, "Well, kid, you ready?" And he had this cigar hanging out of his eye. I says, "Yeah, I'm ready. Of course I'm. What am I going to say? No, I'm not." Well, we go into turn 3. The light goes green, and I hit it. I go. I'm flying down that front stretch. I go into turn 1 and 2. Come out of 2. I'm in the backstretch. I look in my mirror. There's nobody behind me. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I got this big jump. This is my race. Holy cow, I'm going. I go into turns 3 and 4. There's the back of the pack. Oh, man, I'm going to lap guys in lap 1. And I come off of 4. There's Waymore Toronto with the red flag standing at the start-finish line. I'm like, uh-oh. So I stop. He takes down my window net. He reaches in. He goes, "I start this race, not you. And if you do that again, you'll be in the back." So now I'm so afraid to go when we reline back up, and we're going to go racing now. We go into 3, go into 4. The green light goes off. I don't go. I look at corner 4. The flag is in his hand, and I go to bang it into high gear, and I get run over by the whole. I'm beaten and banged by every car that was on the inside lane. They just pushed me right out of the way. Another race I didn't qualify for, and just won the pits and won the consi, started way in the back. I think I started 20-something in the consi they were taking to. You know I wasn't making it. And I put it up on the trailer, went in the grandstands, and had some of that famous Ice Speedway pizza and ice cold beer and watched the show. Good memory. And Ray's one of the good guys in racing. And you sit down with him and you talk racing, and you know what? Well, next thing you know, you look at your watch or the clock, and hours have passed by. So anyway, friend of WJ's for over 40 years, and it's kind of funny how this world, this small world, just keeps getting smaller. It just keeps getting smaller. But anyway, it's all good, and we'll have some more of those interviews as the year progresses, as the season progresses. Anyway, the Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck Series was at Kentucky this past weekend, and the Camping World Truck Series kind of went like this. Matt Crafton was the winner from the pole. Eric Jones second. Ryan Blaney was third. Daniel Suarez was fourth. Timothy Peters fifth. Tyler Riddick sixth. David Gillian seventh. John West Townsley was eighth. Cameron Haley ninth. And Brandon Jones rounded out the top 10. The next event for the Camping World Truck Series will be Wednesday, July 22nd at Eldora Speedway in Ohio. And that should be an interesting race. That's one that's on my list of races I want to go see. I want to see the trucks at Eldora. So that's all good. Xfinity Series also Kentucky, this weekend. Brian Keselowski was the winner with Eric Jones was second. Kyle Busch third, Daniel Suarez fourth. Elliott Sadler was fifth. Paul Menard sixth. Darrell Wallace Jr. was seventh. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was eighth. Brendan Gaughan was ninth, and Regan Smith rounding out the top 10. J.J. Leary, who got the pole, finished 18th. Their next event will be this weekend on Saturday at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway up in New Hampshire, New England, part of the United States. Sprint Cup Series was also at Kentucky, of course. Kyle Busch was the winner there with Joey Logano second. Denny Hamlin was third. Carl Edwards fourth. Matt Kenseth was fifth. Brad Keselowski sixth. Jeff Gordon seventh. Kevin Harvick was eighth. Jimmy Johnson was ninth. Kurt Busch rounded out the top 10. Kyle Larson got the pole, finished a dismal 35th, and they will be at New Hampshire Motor Speedway on Sunday. Yes. Saturday night's race in Kentucky, Sprint Cup Series. Danica Patrick was not a happy camper. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was having brake problems, got into the back of her. She wasn't happy about that. So when they're on pit road, Danica decided to slam into Dale Earnhardt Jr. You don't retaliate like that. Now, she shoved him. She gave him a good shove. Tony Stewart, the owner of Stewart Hot Racing, and Danica's car, gave her a post-race lecture about track retaliation. Nobody knows better than Tony what can happen in situations like that. And I'll tell you what, I don't think that's over. I think NASCAR is going to have their little Tuesday meeting, the little conference call that they talk to everybody. And I think she's going to make a donation to NASCAR, in my opinion. Because if she doesn't, you know, it's other people, other competitors have been in that position. They've hit people on pit road on purpose, and they've hit people post-race. They've made donations. So I think there's going to be a little donation there, maybe a little smack in the hand with some points, but it can't be. Those are the things you got to nip in the butt right from the get-go when it happens, because you got to just make it. You got to just make it that way. You got to send a message. You got to send a message. You got to send a message. And speaking of New Hampshire, the rules changes for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event at Kentucky saw a night full of passing, lead changes, and outright on the edge of your seat racing, according to an article in NASCAR.com. A track record of 22 green flag passes for the lead were recorded, and a total of, ready for this? I don't know who sat there and did the sheet stroke count, you know, because just did print screens on from the transponder. A track record of 2,665 overall passes for lead changes. That's incredible. And I'll tell you what, that's how racing used to be. Not a parade without music, not like, you know, like some of these local tracks, it's like lap 6, because they time trial, they lap 6, single file, boom, 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 that's it. You could go get a soda, get a beer, get a hot dog, come back, and they're still in the same position. That's what racing's all about. Put the race back in the hands of the driver. And this rules package, it looks like it did. It looks like it did. What else? Announcement. Josh Wise announced on Twitter he will no longer be part of the 98 team for the Premier Motorsports team in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Wise was quoted as saying, "The team and I did not share the same goals going forward." So we'll see how that pans out, because basically what that is they, and this is just my opinion, they said, "Josh, you need to qualify better, you need to run better." And he probably said, "I'm doing the best I can, give me a better car." And it just became one of those things. So you know what? Sometimes you have to agree to disagree, shake hands, get in your car, and keep it moving. It looks like what Josh Wise did. And whatever. We're going to take a break, and we come back. We'll have a guest in the studio who's going to report on the fire department drill stuff that went on here on Long Island, and some of the stuff that happened at Wall Township Speedway down in New Jersey. Kevin Basic, Long Island Eva Speed, will be joining us for the last segment, and he'll be here when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Enravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Enravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're a punch in the But if you have this bracelet from Enravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit hansoncarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Oh, hey, sorry. We got to talking. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, my right, your left, Kevin Basic, Long Island Need for Speed. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
And Kevin, for those who don't know, is our camera guy. He comes with me to a lot of these events throughout the Northeast. We've been to a lot of racetracks, a lot of races.
I enjoy myself on Saturdays, believe me.
Yeah,
I have a great time. They treat
deal.
us like gold.
Yeah, they do. It's kind of funny. They didn't treat me like gold this Saturday, but that's okay. I had a great time with some great people.
Oh, I got the VIP treatment, man.
I know.
Including that driving school. They were all asking where you were, and they wanted you to go back out there, and they
had the modified there for me. Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do?
The green flag driving experience at the World Township Speedway. Gary, who runs it, good people.
Really good people. They actually work at the racetrack at night. All those people have jobs at Wall Stadium at night.
At the racetrack. There's some good people there, all helpful, all nice, all good. But they had the Garden State Classic there on this Saturday night. And,
there was over 65 modifies
65
there.
modifies.
6 guys went home. That's between the sport mods and the tour type modifies.
Now the sport mods are kind of like an SK almost with smaller tires.
With smaller 10-inch tires, and they run with a what do they call those motors? Crate motor. They run crate motors.
Yep. Anthony Cecily was the winner in the mods. With the street stock was Ronnie Mullen. The legend winner was Kevin Nowak, a Long Islander, who made the trip down there instead of running his local racetrack. Late models sportsman was John Vulo, Johnny Lightning as he's called, and the 4 cylinders was Orlando Morales. Now, Wall Township Speedway, for those who have not been there ever.
Take a trip down there. You will be disappointed, man. I mean, this place was sold out.
Yeah, it's a third of a mile racetrack with third, I believe, and I was told this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told this by the people that were there, listen, that it's a 30-degree bank. Now, when I was out in that TQ,
I actually videotaped the banking. I put the camera on the bottom of the banking, and I videotaped, and it looks like Daytona. I mean, that's how much banking is there.
When I took the TQ out, and I went, when I finally got to speed, it took like a lap to get up to speed, and I went into turn 1, it was like I was looking at a wall. And as I got closer and closer, it started to do this, and you're trying to hold your head up, going through the corners with the G-force and everything. And it was really a good time. And like I said, they're good people there, and I'm looking forward to going back as
I'll be
soon
going
as I
back
can.
this upcoming Saturday to finish filming what we missed. Because they had a curfew, 12 o'clock, they were still running races. And it started at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with a half-hour intermission, but the intermission was the tribute to all the Garden State winners, which was really done very well. I got a chance to talk to Tony Siscone. We talked about him racing at Riverhead Raceway and how much he enjoyed racing here on Long Island. I talked to Gil Hearn. He talked about the All-Star League and also talked about him racing at Freeport Stadium, otherwise known as Freeport Speedway. And he only went there once. He didn't do so good, so he didn't want to go back. Talking about Bob O'Rourke and how Bob O'Rourke hooked them up with different things because they had different payouts for different things with the All-Star League. He was also talking about when he ran Ice Up Speedway. One time his Modify caught fire there, and he's talking about that. And he had nothing but good times at Ice Up Speedway. I asked him if he ran Riverhead. He said no. Then I got to talk to John Blewett. He's like my idol. I used to watch him race at Ice Up Speedway in Riverhead. He used to drive his own 76 cars. Yeah. Then he got the 09 car of the, I forget what the name of that team is. The 09, the Ideal Kitchens car. He got that ride. And then we were talking about that, Ice Up Speedway, Riverhead. He talked about running against Wayne Anderson and stuff and Freddie Harback. At Islip and Riverhead, and also Leo used to go down to Wall Stadium, and also New Egypt Speedway. Bob O'Rourke ran the show down there.
Back when it was paved.
Yeah, Yeah, I got a lot of video from that place paved. You know, then we talked about Charlie J, and they were very close. And we talked about Richie Evans, and believe it or not, Blewett had a Richie Evans car, and he helped build it up at Richie's house, shop up there, and he spent the whole month up in Rome, New York with Richie. And like I said, I told him, NASCAR ain't the same without Richie Evans. I said, he's probably be a car builder now, but everybody misses him.
Yeah, Richie Evans.
He was a good guy. But I mean, the racing was excellent, man. I mean, there was 4 guys. They only took 24 cars. I think 4 guys qualified. Another 6 guys in the tour type modifieds had to go home. There was like 4 Long Island guys down there. 3 of them were running the Legends cars. One of them was Stephen Guayaki, that I know from the fire department drill team. He used to drive for the Roslyn Highlanders. I also ran with him with the Brentwood Tigers. We were teammates together. And I go, well, I know the Highlanders want me to do, but I'm not doing that when I can race my own car. So, he was a back runner. He had problems with his car. There's also the number 26 Legends car there from Long Island, along with the Love Bug. The Love Bug wound up winning. And then there was 2 more guys, believe it or not, in the limited late model. One of the Long Island guy won, Johnny Lightning won the limited late model. And then there was 3 guys that ran modifies. You had Matt Lack. I forget what the guy is in the 32 car, but he's from Long Island. Makes the long haul from Smithtown every week to Wall. He loves it there. And there was also another driver, I forget who it was, but he was driving one of the modifies from Pennsylvania that runs at the Mahoning Valley Speedway. I happened to listen in a conversation with the track steward and stuff. The guys from Pennsylvania didn't have tires, and they couldn't really afford to buy tires. They wanted to know if they could use credit card, whatever. So they worked out a deal where they had their own tires. I mean, they were used tires, but they still had a lot of depth in them and stuff like that, where they could have ran the 100 laps no problem. So they let them run on their track tire. So I was impressed about that. And I just couldn't believe that the food was excellent, man. It's like going out to a diner. I mean, and cheap.
Good stuff there.
But I mean, all around, I had a great time. Even like when we went to New Egypt, I had a great time. Middletown, any place we went, we had a ball. And we're well welcome. I'm looking forward to going, like I said to Tracy, just put us down for Labor Day week on that Saturday, because I'm going to try to get my brother to run the antique stuff that will come up with the Pinto and the coupe.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to that because they're going to have midget racing that night, along with the dirt modifies on pavement and the BMS modifies. So it's going to be good,
That was the past weekend. Also, the North Belmont Fire Department drill was
right. That started
racing.
at 1 o'clock.
Central Islip Hobos took down the win there in the points. West Sayville, the Flying Dutchman, was second. West Hempstead was third. Islip was fourth, and New Hyde Park rounded out the top 5. The Suffolk drill will be at Riverhead this weekend, and the Nassau drill will be at Rockville Center for the fire department. So if you're into that, I'll tell you what, that's some exciting stuff watching these guys.
We'll be doing some stuff for 5 on, 5 off.
Yeah, it's just incredible watching these guys. They go flying in a modified with the C trucks, and it's a modified.
I actually talked to some guys from Jersey that work for Dick Barney. I talked to Dick Barney too. We did an interview with Dick Barney. But they even know about drill team racing in New Jersey. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, you guys are nuts.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, they're hanging off the back of this thing, goes flying
75 miles an hour doing
C-ladder. They lock the
ladder.
brakes, they jump off, you grab a hose, or they do the ladder thing. It's incredible. They're crazy.
Ladders are done in 12 seconds, so that's C ladder. And if you're doing C hose, you're running like 11 to 12 seconds for C hose. That's going at 300 feet. And going in there, and you got to stop at the slow down to 150 because the truck's doing like 75 miles an hour up to 150 feet.
Yeah.
And then you got to slow down to drop the guys at the hydrant, and then speed up again and drop the other 2 guys at the nozzle line.
Unbelievable.
It's pretty wild. Ladders is all out. One time I was a thrower. We were doing it at practice. I said, I ain't doing this. I went back to digging.
Yeah, when I was in the fire department, we didn't have motorized at Babylon Village.
The old-fashioned.
We had old-fashioned. And bucket brigade and stuff like that. We'd run, and obviously my running days are over. But that's what we did at Babylon Village. And
actually, the Nassau County tournament that's in Rockville Center on Friday nights, they have the Nassau County Championship for the old fashioned on Friday night, and then Saturday is motorized. I think Friday night starts at 6 o'clock. Saturday morning, both Riverhead and Rockville Center start at 8 o'clock.
There you go. It's looking good. About 4 or 5 minutes left. Just a quick reminder: this weekend, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's got a full slate, Cup, Xfinity, K&N, Modifieds, a couple other things there. If you take the ride up, it's well worth it. And I'll tell you what, even though there's only one road in and one road out, they make it in the morning that it's a 2-lane road with a shoulder on each side. The 3 lanes are going to the racetrack. And when the race is over, 3 lanes are taking you back to the main highway. It's an easy off, easy out, easy in. If you're not doing nothing, head up for that modified race. Even if you just go on Friday for the All-Star race, the All-Star modified race. They put on a nice show there. It's televised. It's not live, obviously, but it's televised. And I'll tell you what, when you watch a modified race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, take your eyes off the track for a couple of seconds. Look in the Cup garage, the Sprint Cup garage, and look in the Xfinity garage. And what you're going to see is those guys from those series on top of their haulers watching these races. Because I'll tell you what, it's the best race of the weekend. Best race of the weekend. And I'm trying to get there this weekend. We'll see how that pans out. But
otherwise, you're going to Jersey, get your chance to drive the TQ. Who knows, Joe? Maybe to put you in the TQ for that night.
Yeah, it should be good. It should be real good.
And I want to thank the Krauses again. I got a phone call.
Kraus and his wife.
Yeah, I got a phone call from Mrs. Kraus today and asked me, how did everything go for me on Saturday? I said, thank you very much. So I'll probably be back there this Saturday. It says I don't need an open invitation. I can come anytime I want.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I really enjoyed myself. I mean, I made how many phone calls to you? Oh, Joe, I wish you were here. This is the best racing I ever seen.
29.
29 phone calls.
29 phone calls. 29 voicemails.
Oh, I mean, it was really good racing. Door-to-door handle. I mean, there was a couple of wrecks, but there was no fights, nothing like that. It was really good.
Hey, we got a couple minutes. We're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be a part of the show tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk racing with every guys and you gals and guys and gals. It's like you're sitting in my living room, we're talking racing, sitting back having a cocktail, sharing stories. So it's all good. So again, thank everybody. Wherever your racing endeavors are going to bring you this weekend, please be safe, please be careful. Give somebody a hug, tell them you love them. And we'll see you next week. God bless you all. Thank you.